right, we'd like to welcome everybody out to another episode of the Apex Show and Sell at the Peak. We have with us today Jake and Seth Israelson of Shadow Mountain Show Goats, and excited to have them on. They exhibited our Champion Wether last year, and what did you guys have the year before? Was it the Champion Doe?
Champion Wether.
Champion Wether the year before too. Perfect. So yeah, they've done the Champion Wether 2 years in a row, back to back. Nobody is going to challenge their supremacy on the weather goat front, I don't think.
We don't have one this year, sorry.
Yep. Too bad. But happy to have them out. Good friends and excited for another year at the Apex. They're also helping to manage the goat side of the Apex, which has been very good for me and my health and for the health of the goats for the Apex. So how are you guys doing?
Good. We're just ready for summer.
Yeah. Turn on the heaters, would you?
Yeah, this snow is getting old.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice weather in 2 weeks, I guarantee it.
Guarantee it, right? Apex coming.
Anybody out there listening, don't be too concerned. It's going to be beautiful.
Logan will be beautiful in 2 weeks.
Perfect. Oh, well, we do have climate-controlled buildings, so it really doesn't matter, right? So
the facilities will be nice.
Yes. Yeah, big upgrade over last year. So, all right, guys. So let's dive into it. Tell us, what is the story of Shadow Mountain Show Goats? How did you guys initially get involved in the livestock industry, and then what got you into goats of all things?
Well, we were born into the livestock industry, so we didn't have much of a choice there. And we grew up with beef cattle, dairy cattle, went to a lot of dairy shows and pigs at fairs and different things. I moved down to southern Utah in 2005, and I guess we've always had some goats around growing up. But I got into more of the meat goats, the boar goats, when I was down in southern Utah. I had some young kids and thought, they're a good size. If a goat kicks them, it's not going to hurt them too bad, like a cow would. So it just kind of grew from there.
So you got into it for the kids. Let's go back. You said you grew up doing dairy cattle shows. So did you grow up on a dairy farm, a beef farm?
Yeah, we grew up on a dairy farm. We sold the cows. I guess it was really Grandpa's dairy farm across the street. We sold the cows, I think in 2000, milked about 40 or 50 Jersey cows. So we've been in the dairy business. If we were dairy farmers, we'd be fifth generation dairy farmers. Jersey dairy farmers, in fact, but we're not. We're first generation goat breeders. But yeah, the goats are fun. Growing up, we always had 3 or 4 dairy goats kicking around to feed calves on and give us something to do. So we've always had goats, but yeah, Jake bought his goats, and then I was here up north, and I moved back here from Tennessee in 2014 and bought my first boar goats. And then around 2017, we really decided to get a little more serious about it. And so I think that Shadow Mountain Show Goats is in its 6th year right now.
Okay. So, it's probably a good move to get out of the dairy cows.
We don't really do that.
Yeah, you don't have to milk the goats twice a day, so that's nice.
That is nice.
But they are plenty of work. Don't let anybody fool you.
And Jake, you're still involved with dairy operations, aren't you?
Yeah, through the bank, I have some dairy customers, and I feel they're paying these feed costs.
Seth, are you involved with dairy farms still?
I am. Yeah, I work for the Jersey Cattle Association.
Oh, well,
Western states, so
you're knee deep in it.
I'm somewhat involved, I guess.
Seth depends on me to keep them all in business, and then they just pay him.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's what the family network's all about, right?
That's right.
Keep them in business. Keep them in business. All right. So it's 2017 or a little bit earlier than that. You're getting into the goats. How does your herd get started? Where do you buy your first goats? Let's hear those stories.
So I was living out in California at the time, and we kind of had a hodgepodge group put together back home. Jake was taken care of, and it was just we weren't seeing the progress we wanted to see. So we sold every single goat we owned one day. Took a trailer out to California, loaded up a trailer full of goats from HJ Boars out there in Oakville, and JJL, J&J Livestock in Galt, which is now out in Texas. Brought them home and started out about 20 does, and now we're up to dang near 50.
And we noticed immediate results compared to some of the older ones that we had in the old herd. There was a significant difference. And we had pretty good commercial type does, but the weatherbred stuff looked significantly different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely chose the right places to go to get a good start, I believe.
I'd say so. Those two guys have been pretty wildly successful in this whole goat deal. So what does it look like to actually pull the trigger on, dang it, I'm selling every doe we have and we're going to go buy a good herd? So how does that conversation go the day that you make that decision?
Seth showed up and fed one day. It's usually me doing all the feeding. He showed up and fed one day and said, if we're going to do this, we're going to have some better livestock. And so that's kind of how it started, and it just grew from there. And we thought, yeah, it's probably a good move. If we're going to invest all this time and feed into something, let's raise a better quality.
And I will say, we had, probably had 50 something goats at the time. We sold them, we sold them for what they were worth, and we did all right. But we took every one of those dollars and invested it into these 20 goats that we bought, which, doesn't seem to make much sense. But, like Jacob said, it paid off immediately. So, yeah, that's the thing. If you're whether in the goat business, the dairy business, horse business, and you gotta be willing to invest. Anybody that tries to cut corners, it seems like eventually it'll catch up to you. So you try to do things the right way, but it's a lot of work and takes some money too.
Yeah.
Quality livestock always sells.
Absolutely. So it costs the same to feed a bad doe as it does a good doe, right?
It does. And the good does die just as easy as the bad ones.
Yes, they do. All right, so let's talk about some of your favorite bucks that you've had on your property, where they came from, and the stories of coming across them and bringing them to your place.
So
Seth found all of our bucks.
We talked about a couple of them last year, I think, but obviously the original buck we bought with this first group out of California, they called him Trump. He just powerhouse of a goat, super consistent, bred by Justin Burns. Still have him. We still give him a handful of does every April and July. And I tell Jacob we need to stuff him and hang him on the wall above the fireplace someday when he dies. But he's a playing game son out of a natural disaster doe from Justin. And he's just put a lot of power, a lot of squareness into our goats.
Got a lot of does that we've kept out of him, and yeah, we have a lot of trunk blood in our herd still.
And a couple of years, well, a year and a half ago, we got the notion to. Personally, I've never really been into markings myself. I know people are kind of hot and cold on that. I just like a good traditional looking goat, but we did think it'd be kind of fun to have some black-headed goats. So we bought a nice black-headed buck out of Kansas from Bad Boys Boars, which was a son of a Carl Venable buck, Forever Dreamin', out of a Gray Goose Pfeiffer doe that Bad Boys had bought. And we call him Thunder. He's actually the sire of our 2 Apex goats this year. And he was the sire of our 2 black-headed goats last year in Apex, the Champion goat, and then we had a little black-headed doeling. I think she got second in her class.
Second or third.
But he just, he's put a little more style and stretch into our goats, putting them on Trump daughters. And we've had a few other bucks over the years too, a couple homegrown bucks, a couple purchased bucks that, have done a good job for us. But those 2 up to this point have been the best. We got a couple new bucks we're going to utilize later this year that we bought from back east. Hopefully they just, take us another notch or 2 up.
Absolutely.
Always try to go to the next level.
Yep, absolutely. So tell me, with the Trump buck, did you see him in person before you bought him, or was this over the internet? You're putting your trust in the breeder kind of deal.
Didn't you go out and look at him?
So I texted Justin just out of the blue. I didn't know him at the time, but I texted him and asked him if he had any does and bucks for sale. This was like June, so not the perfect time to buy goats necessarily, but he texted me back 3 pictures of this goat, and I could not believe it. I was totally blown away, and so I went up a day or 2 later to look at him, and man, he looked like his pictures, which was unbelievable. Just super wide, super strong, big wide butt on him, lots of bone. And man, I couldn't buy him fast enough. I thought that is a goat there. It's one of those. It's going to be a buck, then it's going to be a wether, then it's going to be a buck. So it's just kind of, he didn't know exactly what he wanted to do with him, but he's turned out super good for us.
That's awesome. I was kind of expecting you to say you got the pictures and he was an ugly SOB, but you bought him anyways.
Yeah, well, that's how a lot of bucks seem to be, but he was a pretty thing.
Awesome. All right, so you've got a couple new bucks. Jake was showing me one of them. I'm actually going to pull him up. He's on your Facebook page right now, so let me go ahead and share that with everybody so they can see.
Yeah, so we bought one little buck recently from Blaine Rue. Blaine was out at the Apex last year, and I hope he comes again this year.
Yeah, you interviewed him a couple weeks ago, I remember.
Yep.
So yeah, we're excited to see what that buck throws. This buck we partnered with Kais Level out in Pennsylvania there, and yeah, we're pretty excited to see what both of those bucks will do for us this next year.
So you got a name for this one yet?
Not officially. We own this buck still with Adam Kais out there in Pennsylvania. Haven't run names by him yet, but he is a Top Gun son. In fact, the first intact Top Gun son, I believe. He had a couple Wether brothers selling the same cell, but Top Gun is a flush mate to carry the boats. Red White Hoyles down in Arkansas. And you can see the syndicate owners there on Top Gun.
Storks have them now that carry the boats, don't they?
Yeah, Macon Stork owns carry the boats, obviously. But we were looking maybe getting another buck. Because, yeah, we had just bought the root buck about a month before. But we came across this cell the other day, and man, this is just the most pig-butted goat I've seen in a long, long time. He's got super good rack shape, I think. He's got a wide loin. He's got that massive rear to him, shallow chest. So, man, I think, Adam mentioned in the listing that it's got to be one of the best bucks he's seen sell this year, and I don't know if I can dispute that.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting little prospect. That'll be a fun one to get out to Utah and get some does bred with. So, all right. So,
We're waiting for you to go pick him up, Riker.
What was that?
We're just waiting for you to go and pick him up.
It's only 4,000 miles round trip.
That's it. Just all the way across the country and back. All right. So when folks are coming to the Apex or going to their local breeders to pick out goats for county fairs, or breeders going to go and find a doe, what are your guys' top priorities for finding a good one when you're on the hunt?
Well, I think one of the main things people need to remember is, I mean, you can get a goat to look really good in a picture, but to see him on the move, I mean, obviously in person is the best way to see him and actually feel him, put your hands on him, because sometimes they don't feel quite as good as what they look. And so when people come buy goats from us, we usually will put them in a pen, let them compare a few, let them touch them, let them watch them walk and move, and take their pick from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those goats, they have a tendency, they'll go stale a lot quicker on you than a sheep will. Seth, what about you? What tips and tricks do you have when you're, picking out goats and sorting?
I'm buying. So, like Jacob mentioned, I always like to see them in their natural state. Anything can take a good picture, but you see them out there on the move in their working clothes. A good goat will pop out to you naturally, I think. And then I believe that genetics, if it's out of a good buck and a good doe, you just got to have a lot more confidence in that than some random one that, some unproven thing. So even maybe in the first couple of weeks, you'll see goats that are supposed to be a little more high-powered genetically that just don't exhibit it. But if they're bred right, they tend to turn into what they're supposed to be, I think.
Yeah, and we're noticing that in this year's crop of kids. They weren't real impressive when they hit the ground, but now that they're a couple months old, they're really coming on and looking pretty nice.
Perfect. You got to love it when it happens like that. And that's why you got to talk to these breeders too, right? When you're out there sorting through them and you're seeing one and it's kind of green and maybe not exactly what you're looking for, and you've got one right next to it that's really bloomy, but that breeder says, hey, you better go with that skinny green thing that you think is a little ugly, because I'm here to tell you that one's going to be the better one of the two of them in the long run.
Well, and an example of that is last year at Apex, we took 2 doelings, and the one doeling we knew was going to be kind of a late bloomer, and she didn't place very well in her class. She didn't sell super great, but a guy from Idaho bought her, and I actually went up and watched her at their county fair. And she turned into a really nice goat. She ended up getting grand up there. And so, yeah, we knew she was out of a trump. We knew how they were going to turn out, how they were going to mature. But at the time we sold her, she wasn't there.
Yeah.
So you got to have a lot of faith in those genetics. And obviously feed is a big part of that too. But yeah, I mean, the breeders know how a lot of those genetics will turn out. And so sometimes they're not always the best one on the day you buy them, but they can turn into a really nice one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, when you're sorting an animal, where do you start? Do you start at the feet? Do you start at the hip? What's the most important characteristic for you?
For me, I like a good wide goat. Wide through the shoulders, square on those four legs, wide loin, um, just opened up there in the chest. That's kind of where I start. I also I, I like rack shape myself. Just that good round shallow rib. Just gives them a lot of style, and if you can combine that with a lot of width, then I think you really got to go.
I like to see them on the move, see how they travel, make sure those legs are working right, and then I just go up from there. Start going to the width and the length, and just the. I mean, you hear the cocky look, the swagger they bring. You can tell the presence one brings just when they're on the walk, and they sort themselves from some of the others.
Yeah.
So I hope our consignments this year are that way for a lot of other people too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can feed two goats or any goat really. You can feed a lot of goats, I should say, into a pretty decent goat, but they got to have that bone structure right off the bat. They got to be opened up. They got to have the right shape to them to begin with. If you're trying to feed a narrow, flat rib goat into a show goat, you're just going to put extra cover on it. It's just going to look stale. But it's got that natural presence, then it turns out better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you guys have talked a little bit about, lessons that you've obviously learned that, hey, it's better to feed a good one than a bad one. And it's better to get one that has the right characteristics in order to feed it into a great one. Let's talk about some other general life lessons that you guys have learned from livestock, or maybe your kids have learned from livestock. What are the most important things that you guys have learned growing up in this industry?
You got to have a lot of patience. Um, it seems like the ones that die are always the best ones. I
Always.
don't think we're the only breeders that believe that. It's things can be going great, and something always comes and surprises you. And I think for my kids, it's been good because they've learned how to deal with loss. They fall in love with the goat, they take it to a show, take it to the county fair, it sells. Every year that happens, it gets easier for them. And not to say they don't love that animal or they don't miss that animal, but just like in life, I mean, you'll have loss in life, and there's things you just have to move on from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, funny story about that. This happened just the other day. We've been selling our January goats here and there the last couple of weeks, and a few days ago we were out there in the wean pan, and Jacob's little boy came in there. He was scanning the pan. He's like, "Where's my goat?" and we were like, "What goat?" "Oh, my favorite goat. Where's my goat?" He's looking all over for it, and we sold his favorite goat, and he was all upset about that. But yeah, that's the way it goes. You can't keep all of them. I think another thing I've learned in the livestock business overall, even in my work and raising our own stuff. I mentioned it earlier, but I am not a proponent of cutting corners. It always catches up to you. You got to do it the right way. I figure if you can't, and not saying that we have it all down, we can always do better. But if you can't take care of animals the right way, you probably shouldn't have them, because we're responsible to give them a good existence, and
It reflects
take good
the
care of
industry.
them. And when you do cut corners, you might get by, but it always catches up to you. You're never going to take that next step forward, and you're just not going to get the respect of the industry and those around you. But if you do try to do it the right way, like I said, it takes money, it takes time, it takes effort, but a lot of times, maybe not all the time, but most of the time it pays off, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no cutting corners in life, right there.
An old what?
No cutting corners in life.
No cutting corners in life. Perfect. You know what, Seth? It sounds like you've had some experiences where maybe the opposite has happened, where somebody was cutting corners and it didn't turn out. Do you have any stories about that?
Yeah, boy. No, I don't know if I want to really get into them, but it's.
I mean, you see that in the industry.
Yeah.
There's people that really struggle, and these animals struggle.
I've seen places with 50% plus mortality, and to me, like, that's just totally unacceptable. We always shoot for 0% mortality. Never achieve it, but if you have livestock just dying because you didn't take the time and effort to give them a good place to live, or treat them, or make sure everything was eaten, keep them out of the weather, that type of thing, then I don't know. Personally, I don't have a lot of patience for that, but and if you do have 50%, 30%, even 20% mortality, I don't know how you're going to make any money to begin with, anyways. So that's why I said you're losing half of them, so then you can't afford to do any better. Just try to do it right from the beginning. Is my
it catches up to you.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so what's one of your most memorable livestock shows?
Apex, of course.
Okay.
Apex was pretty fun last year.
I bet it
Seth
was.
there, and my two girls were there, and it was. We had some other people there helping us, and just seeing some old friends and some of the other breeders. That's what's enjoyable, is going around and making those connections and talking about the old times and seeing your kids out there showing. That's what's rewarding.
You got to take home a pretty cool trophy too.
Yeah, do we have to give that back?
You do have to give that back.
Yeah,
You get to sign it.
Yeah, it's too bad. We're not going to be able to win the weather class this year, I think we had 24 goats born in January, and 6 of them were males. We were ready to pull our hair out.
We had a lot of does.
Lots of does this year, but the does we're bringing Apex, I think they're pretty good. So
perfect. That's awesome. It's awesome. Glad to have them there. Well, good. What about you, Seth? What's one of your favorite, most memorable livestock shows?
So I'll be honest, I don't make it to a lot of goat shows myself. I'm on the road a lot, or taking care of the herd while Jacob's at the shows.
Yeah.
But I made it out. I make it out to nail every year in Louisville. Gone to cow house a couple times in California, and those are nice, but they're almost, I don't know, too big. I kind of like more. Those are the shows we all shoot to win and dominate in. Those national or regional shows, but just little shows, little county fairs throughout the Intermountain West. But it seems like a lot lower key, a lot less stress, a lot more friendly. And you got kids that, they got a nice goat. It's not a national goat, but you're able to win a county fair or a class or a division with a goat they worked with all year. Those are kind of my type of shows. Just those more local events. Yeah.
Well, you guys both grew up showing. So what was one of the most memorable shows that you showed in?
So I myself have never shown the goat.
Okay.
Never shown a goat.
But you did cattle, so.
We did do cattle. So whenever I was 9 years old, I won the Junior All Utah show with my Holstein heifer, and the judge pointed at my heifer, so I was the winner. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, you know, I'm not going to pick a 9-year-old kid. We're going to pick a 17 or 18-year-old kid out there, champion heifer. But yep, I won that show, and so I started at the top and went down, I guess.
Shoot, all I remember from those dairy shows is sitting on the wash rack. It takes a long time to wash a cow.
Yeah, it does.
It's a lot faster to wash a goat.
Yeah, you probably spend more time clipping a goat, though.
That's true. That's true.
Unfortunately, that's probably the truth.
More time than the dairy cattle, at least, right? Those
I can whip a dairy heifer up into pretty good shape. I still got a long way to go on the goats, but yeah, I do end up at a lot more dairy shows throughout the year than I do goat shows.
Yeah, it sounds right. I mean, you do work in that industry, so
yeah, it makes sense, I guess.
All right, Jake, what was the most memorable show that you showed in?
Growing up?
Yeah.
Oh, probably the county fair my senior year. I think I had 3 heifers there, and I won the class with all 3 of them. I got junior champion, reserve junior champion, and then an honorable mention. So yeah, that was a busy year, busy show.
Yeah.
Now I got all these trophies. I don't know what to do with them.
You got to give them away.
I tried to give them to my kids, and after they got laying around the house so much, my wife, I think, just got rid of them.
Shoot.
But there was some good memories. It is a good way to grow up.
Perfect. And we've maybe touched on this, but I'm going to ask it from a little bit of a different perspective. What's the best piece of advice that you could give to someone who's just getting started, either breeding their own or getting started showing?
I think my advice would be, and I tell people this all the time when they're looking to get does. In fact, I just told this to somebody the other day. I said, spend a little bit extra money and get something a little higher quality rather than trying to grow internally. I mean, it's good to grow internally, but it takes so long to get to the level that a couple $100 more could get you. And we kind of went through that. We were making progress, but it was very slow progress until we decided, you know what, we're going to get some good quality genetics, and we're just going to grow off of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with breeding your own goats, but if somebody's got a 20-year head start on you, it's a little arrogant to think that you're going to be able to catch up in a generation or two. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, start with something halfway decent would be a thing, and then you know what? Goats are a lot of work. They are a lot of work. You know, each one of them has 4 feet. You got to trim all those feet.
The mites, the worms, the
worming, making sure nobody's getting mastitis. You know, it's just a lot of work.
And I think that is a misconception in the goat world that goats are easy. You know, they'll eat anything, and that's not the case. Goats do take a lot of work, like any livestock, any good quality livestock.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess my advice, if you're gonna get into the goats, expect to put a little bit of time and effort into it.
Perfect. All right. What are some of your goals going forward?
Raise good kids, 2-legged kids and 4-legged kids.
Perfect.
So, I mean, obviously, our goal is to continue to improve, get better, get some good quality animals out there in the hands of some of these showmen. But I mean, ultimately, family is what you do it for. And my kids were supposed to be here tonight, but they basketball and cheer and track. Anyway, they got too involved in some other things tonight, but they don't always enjoy it. But I hope one day they'll look back and say, that was a good life. That was fun, going out there and spending time with family and being around livestock. And so that's what motivates me. Seth's still looking for a wife, so he doesn't have that same view.
Yeah, I'm not looking all that hard, to be honest. But if you got a lot of money, send me a message.
If you have a nice goat.
I just want to see consistent improvement, generation over generation. I think we got about the size of herd we want, 45-ish does, which I think is about right for us. But we're always wanting to expand our market. We send quite a few goats out of state, a lot to the West Coast, but it'd be nice to get a few more of our goats into some of these southern shows in Texas, Oklahoma, Indiana. So I guess that's what we're shooting for.
Absolutely.
But if we it'll happen if we
It'll work with the right show.
Genetics, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. Appreciate your time today. Just want to remind everybody, the Apex show is on April 7th in Logan, Utah. It's going to be streamed live on Show Barn Flicks and available also on our Facebook page. So if you want to see the show, see the animals getting judged live in person, you can either join us in Logan or, of course, watch it online. The Apex sale is April 8th, Saturday, April 8th, just a couple weeks away in Logan, Utah. You can bid live with us in person or once again online through cci.live. Live is L-I-V as in Victor E. So be sure to pre-register if you want to be bidding on any goats or sheep. There's going to be a very high quality set of sheep and goats at the Apex this year. So I'm really looking forward to it. Our judge is Clay Elliott. Those of you on the sheep side of this game are very familiar with Clay Elliott. He's been around for a long time, and he knows his way around goats too. So he's going to do a great job sorting through them, and we're looking forward to that. Consignments are due now. If you want to consign to the Apex, it's time to get in and get in quickly. We need your pictures by April 1st. To be guaranteed to go onto our SC online catalog. The SC online catalog that's where you can see all the sheep and goats is through sconlinesales.com. And we look forward to having everybody join us there. So I appreciate it, guys. Seth is taking referrals for Sugar Mamas. So those of you watching, if you have any referrals for Seth, send them my way, and I'll make sure he gets them. So, appreciate you guys. Thanks for your time today. Look forward to seeing you at the Apex.
Yeah, Logan's a good location. Glad you got to move to Logan. We look forward to being there and seeing everybody, and hopefully the weather's a little warmer. But the indoor arena will be nice.
The indoor arena will be nice. The Cache County Convention Center is going to be lovely. It's going to be good. So, all right, guys, appreciate it.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.